Support WrestleTalk!
After a career spanning 138 years, Sting is going to finally retire. Not like one of those TNA retirements, not like one of those WWE retirements. No, this is an AEW retirement, where stipulations seem to matter, and his final opponents are going to be him and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks' mustaches.
Oh, they were so good mustaches.
Yeah, they were posing and smouldering down the lens. I'm Ollie Davis. I'm joined by Luke Owen, DAD. Welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast review of a seemingly hated episode of AEW Dynamite.
Controversial episode of Dynamite. This is, we were talking about this just before we went on air. This was an episode that you rather enjoyed.
I thought it a rollicking good time was what I said.
I thought it was a pretty good show, T to B, top to bottom. I had a pretty good time with it. I thought it was a decent episode. But what we've since discovered is apparently this is one of the most hated episodes of Dynamite in recent memory.
So hopefully, be nice to each other in the chat, folks. Don't go after each other too much. People are allowed to like the show. People are allowed to dislike the show. But no one is allowed to talk badly about the Young Bucks' mustaches.
I don't know, this person here said they did look like knobs.
God damn it. Mods ban them. Boot them from this channel. I never want to see their name again. Please, of course I'm kidding. Please press the thumbs up button. Give us a subscribe. Leave a comment down below with what you thought of this episode and send in your mega chats to be part of the discourse. Or read out every single one of them live over $5 before the end of the show. And before we get into our main talking point, a big thank you to this episode's sponsor. It's what keeps my skin smooth despite the hideous chilliness outside. Geology.
New year, new you. You can get yourself 70% off your trial set by Air using the promo code WRESTLE70 and using our link in the video description down below, or by skewing this QR code that's just above my noggin here. My noggin that, by the way, looks fantastic with silky smooth skin thanks to Geology. We'll have more on that in a little bit, I think.
Yes. But first off, the main event of this episode saw Sting and Darby Allin take on Powerhouse Hobbs and Takeshita of the Callis family. Ric Flair was also in Sting's corner. I think Sting is sponsored by Ric Flair. Is that how this works?
I think so, yeah. I think he's the consortium, right?
Yeah, the
consortium! I was told by Dan Layton that's a bad Ric Flair impression.
Dan Layton from the chat as well. And it was a terrific match. It was so much fun. Sting just was I've got a numb to him diving off tall things and being caught by people. I've not got a numb to him taking Takeshita knees.
Oh, the Takeshita knees in this were delightful.
And you had Takeshita and Darby Allin as well, which is where the real great wrestling happened. Their match last week was absolutely outstanding. They've got great chemistry.
I particularly enjoyed the Chaos Theory suplex on the outside. Oh, it was great.
Did you see the match last week? Because you were off.
I was off. I haven't actually seen it last week.
Takeshita hits that spot 3 times going from the top of the ramp down.
No way!
Yeah, holds on. Honestly, it's a cracking match. You know how good Hangman Page and Claudio was opening the show? What a bad show this was. I would say Takeshita Darby was better last week.
Yeah.
But both are great, but I'd still think Darby and Takeshita is my AEW match of the year.
I'll check it out. But I thought this was a very, very fun main event. Did I hear a rumor going around that TNA is back? Because I got confirmation of it here because there was some Sting walk and brawl through the crowd. I was like, is TNA back?
Not quite in a t-shirt, but he was in his morph suit.
Well, it was cold. They're outside in January.
I didn't realise how cold it was because the audience, and I'm not doing this to set up the audience was hot pun, although that is where I'm coming to naturally. But usually when you have wrestling audiences outside, it's cold. They're not a hot crowd.
Yeah, they're chilly.
But the crowd are really good throughout all of this.
Very loud throughout this. But yeah, I thought that Sting doing the brawl through the crowd, really did take me back to TNA. This week on NXT, they announced a 20-woman battle royal where it then will break down into a fatal 4-way when 4 women are left. And I was like, TNA is back and it's influencing everything.
Everything's cyclical. It comes back into fashion.
But I thought it was...
Do you think TNA's big signing is Vince Russo?
Oh, no.
They should do a gender reveal where Vince Russo comes out first.
It's a TNA legend.
Then the actual person comes out.
And it's Sting. I enjoyed them brawling up to onto the ramp as we got to the final portion of this. Sting did a big old dive onto Takeshita from the balcony sort of area. And then Sting and Hobbs battled.
Do you mean Darby?
Yes, Darby.
Yeah.
Darby.
Insane coffin drop.
Yeah, wicked little coffin drop onto Takeshita. And then Sting and Powerhouse Hobbs battled their way across like the sort of, what would you call that? Just like walkway, maybe?
Bit of the stage that's not covered with chairs.
Yeah, I guess so. Like it's not part of the stands, maybe. And then he did a scorpion death drop off the stage through 2 tables, but only hit one of them because, of course, he did. That's what Sting does in AEW. Always aims for 2, only hits 1.
Yeah, you would have thought he would have found his range by now, as they say in snooker parlance.
Well, in fairness, it was Hobbs and Takeshita that set it up. So had Sting done it, maybe he would have had his eye in a little bit more.
I was worried about him because that was the finish of the match. Scorpion death drop off the stage through 1 table, and Sting just put 1 arm out to make the pin.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, he's selling how grueling that contest was.
It's the most selling I think Sting has done in his entire AEW run.
But then the referee checked on him.
Doctors.
Doc Sampson showed up. Darby looked really concerned, like a loved one has just been hurt.
Well, it looked like Darby looked over, saw that only one of the tables was broken. I was like, uh-oh.
It looked like, and then Sting wasn't really moving, and he managed to get in the ring. I hope he's okay. He was on his feet by the end. He's a tough guy. Because, he's just, it's the old meme, isn't it? He was 1 month out from retirement. I wouldn't want him to have to end his career early. But he gets up. Tony Schiavone's in the ring. We've all been waiting for it. Who's your final opponent going to be? Darby's right there. I just assumed it was going to be against Darby. But the Young Bucks, his music hits for the first time since
Full Gear?
Yeah.
Because they lost to Golden Jets at Full Gear.
They threw a tantrum there, and that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah. And now they're back complete with mustaches.
And trench coats.
Well, it was cold. I don't know if the trench coats are part of their new gear or it's just like, it's a bit nippy in Florida right now.
They're going to wrestle in the trench coats.
I was genuinely surprised because we've talked a lot about who Sting's retirement match could be. Could it be against Stu? Could it be against Darby? Could it be against Ric Flair? Will they do like a trios match with Flair and Sting and Darby? And then you'll do, whoever it is on the other side. The Young Bucks never came into conversation. And so I was genuinely surprised by this. I don't know if I'm like stoked or like super excited, but I am like, okay. I mean, I'm shocked. I'm surprised that this is the final match. But I don't think my takeaway was like, oh man, what a perfect retirement match for Sting.
I had the same feeling, but I also had a secondary wave of realization. So when they came out, I was like, cool mustaches first.
First off.
And then a few beats went by of me thinking like that. And then I felt, but they'll have a great match.
They will have a great match.
That like, if you've got Sting and Darby, so a tag match, what wrestlers in the entire world, whatever company, do you know you can put in there and legit have a match of the year contender? It's the Bucks. The Bucks are probably the best wrestling act working today at getting over their opponents, no matter how good their opponents are.
Yeah.
So I think with the Bucks being heel and Sting could genuinely go out on a 5-star match. And I don't think he could do that with anyone other than the Bucks and in a tag team format.
Do you think they should win the tag titles beforehand? Sting and Darby, that is. So you've got Big Bill and Ricky Starks defending against Les Sex Guards on Battle of the Belts, buried away. No one's going to see this one. Let's move past this one as quickly as we can.
Play the entrance music over it.
What's that crowd? I can't hear you. Sing Judas again.
Whatever they come. When did you say it was? This Saturday or Sunday? Cold like December snow.
So you could then do Sting and Darby versus Bill and Starks. Have them win the tag belts, and then the match is Sting and Darby versus the Young Bucks for the tag titles at Revolution, and Young Bucks win the belts and, you know, kind of go on into the tag team era of 2024. Like, I think we needed... The tag division has felt a little bit sort of... It's missing the Bucks, in a way, even though they were tag champs. Did they tag champs last year? Was it FTR were tag champs last year? At All In, it was the FTR versus the Bucks.
Don't Survival Series,
I think it was FTR were champs.
Yeah.
But I felt like the tag division's kind of needing some FTR, some House of Black, some Bucks. Like the tag match they had on Collision, FTR and House of Black was so good. And I'm like, this kind of is what a tag division should be. There's nothing against Starks and Big Bill. It's the people they've been putting against. Because it's fallen into the Jericho vortex.
And they're a Franken team.
So you do Sting and Darby, they win the tag belts, and then Sting finally loses a match in AEW. They're undefeated, and one of the Bucks pins him, and they win the tag titles, and that sends Sting off into the sunset. But to your point, it's likely going to be a really, really good match, and that's kind of what you want. Like, you don't want Flair's retirement match, which was sort of a bit sad.
Yeah, I'd say the Bucks, elite drama aside, aren't that good at storylines. You know, like, name me a great storyline they've had in AEW that's not connected to the elite.
FTR. And even then...
But that's not... It's a series of matches.
And even then it was muddied because they won the tag shot through like a... Remember they did like the ball machine? Like the National Lottery?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like they have fantastic matches. And that's what you need here for Sting to go out on, I suppose. The other way would be to have a great storyline and an adequate match. But Sting seems to have really prioritized in-ring work. With your just fancy booking there, I like the idea, but this should have been the show where they won the tag belts.
Oh, Sting and Darby.
Yeah, they should have faced Big Bill and Ricky here. And then the challengers could... That makes so much more sense as why the Bucks would have come out as well. No,
I agree with that. That's a good point. I don't know if it needs the tag belts. I only thought of it then in that moment of like, you can add a little bit more drama to it, I suppose, and it kind of kickstarts the tag division for 2024. Because things like this show has sold really, really well. You know, you can't say a lot for with AEW over the last 12 or so months. But Revolution, I think there's only like a handful of tickets that are really left unless they open up some more sections of the arena. So Sting's retirement match has already sold well. So you don't need to add more gimmicks on top of it to sell those extra few tickets. But maybe you want to just, have Sting win some gold in AEW before he sets off.
Who would you have had? Would you have had Darby? I think he's the only real choice. And I like that Darby didn't turn on Sting, but I think you could have still done that match and had them remain friends out of respect.
You could have
Darby beats Sting, puts over someone on the way out, But the problem there is I don't know if Sting can wrestle a singles match.
I think Sting has said in interviews as well. Don't quote me on this. I believe this is to be the case. Sting has said in interviews that he doesn't want to wrestle singles matches. He just wants to do tag matches because, he's not the Sting of 1997 anymore. And even then, if you're Eric Bischoff, that's a bad thing. It's not he's not the Sting of 1995. He is.
He's not been working out. He's not even tan.
Where's the tan? He's wearing a coat, for God's sake. No, you want to be more like you're not the Sting of your youth. So you want to have 3 other guys in there that can carry a lot of the load. You go in, play the hits, and go out on your back.
Jump off something tall.
Show off the back. And here's the thing with the Bucks is, I know that they'll have a really good match because I've seen them do it. Like the Young Bucks teamed with ELP to take on Shingo, Sting, and Darby at Forbidden Door 2 years ago, the first Forbidden Door. And that was actually one of my favorite matches on the show because it was so entertaining, because it was Bullet Club Bucks, it was ELP being fantastic, and Sting being in there having fun. So I think they can have a really, really good match.
Let's see what you all think on the Omega Chats, WrestleTalk.com/support. Send them in there. We'll read out every single one over $5. Andy Sandbox says, if the final match is with the Young Bucks, we really couldn't ask for a better opponent. The only other best pick would be FTR from a wrestling perspective. Sting has had an opportunity to help the Bucks as much as the Bucks can give him a deserving last pay-per-view. I guess FTR with that sort of 80s wrestling connection, that we always thought FTR might team up with Ric Flair at one point or to complete that Arn Anderson 4 Horsemen thing. But that just never transpired either.
No, and we know they can have a good match with them as well because we've also seen them do that. They had the 6-man. It was FTR and MJF versus Punk, Sting and Darby.
The pinnacle. That Rob guy says, I was hoping that Sting would put Darby over in a final singles, build on Darby refusing to face Sting, leading to all versions of Sting to taunt him. He's actually written string here, which I think would be a funnier version.
Well,
Rope!
Pete on the episode before we broke for a Christmas episode of Dynamite did call him Ding and Starby.
Did you hear what I accidentally called what's Nick Wayne's mum called? Shayna Wayne. Did you hear what I called her last week?
No.
Martha Wayne. because it was Mother Wayne. And Shayna.
Yeah.
Mother Shayna. Martha, somehow.
Why did you say that name?
And Pete lost his S word. Then he went into the office and told everybody. Back to that Rob guy. Could have even do a coffin match so Sting doesn't get pinned. Can see why a singles match is a no-go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just can't do a singles match, I think. Brett J. Rasmussen. The Bucks versus Sting and Darby will be so much fun. Mustache break. I did a mustache break in the news.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I just want to bring this up again to the two people who appreciate this, Luke and Ollie. Jarrett versus Hardy was not a bad match. It was terrible, stupid, great fun. Do this every year.
That's my pitch, is that Jarrett wins the Beetlejuice Championship in 2024 to add to his Leatherface Championship.
Yeah. It's just a really good year for wrestling. One of the best matches of the year was actually ended up on the worst.
It was controversial being on the list in that I didn't hate the match. I guess that was where the controversy lay. We talked about this on previous podcasts in 2024, but yeah, I will defend that match.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it was the best match of the year, but it certainly wasn't the worst match of the year for me.
Hannah Allen chats in, says, hello, lovelies. Dynamite was special. Claudio and Hangman, fudging spectacular. Claudio could wrestle as Santa, and he still wouldn't lose credit in my book. Hangman was the right guy to go over. Another contender. Men's 8 men did what it needed to. Ricky and Sammy was fun. I must admit, the gear change kind of indicated a fresh slate. Fudge this off with Jericho and focus on our women. 8 women's was rad. Potential hasn't been the issue. Fix it, Toni. My patience is worn and thin. Lots of love, fam. Smiley face emoticon.
Hi, Anna. That's lovely. I mean, my patience was worn and thin many, many moons ago.
James C. Morgan. I think Joe will face Page and Swerve in a triple threat and pin Page, which causes Swerve to snap because he lost another triple threat without being pinned. This will lead to Joe versus Wardlow and Wardlow winning the belt, but he won't turn it over to Cole. This will lead to Wardlow versus Cole for the title. During that match, after multiple interferences from Roderick Strong and co., MJF will run down, clear house, and then give Wardlow the Dynamite Diamond Ring, which he uses to retain.
I love the idea of MJF handing Wardlow the Dynamite Diamond Ring.
That's actually a really good sequence of booking.
I love that as the finish for the match. That's really, really good.
I really like Swerve losing a triple threat, not being pinned again. Kazoo. I honestly thought this episode was fine. Crowd was super hot. Opening match was match of the night. I agree on that.
Yep.
And the main event was close behind. The 8-man tag matches were fine. And we have Julia Hart's next feud with Anna. Darby got yeeted. It was a good time. 7 out of 10.
Yeah, they did a spot during the match where Takeshita or Hobbs grabbed him by the arms and the other one grabbed him by the legs, and they did that thing that you do to like your little cousin before you throw them into a swimming pool.
And he hit the bottom rope.
He flew so far across the ring.
Enrique. I absolutely love the Hook signal. However, I was disappointed with the lack of follow-up from Hook himself. Luke and Ollie, please try and say this word. Parang?
Cool. Before we do, Can we have our moderators check that it's okay to say?
Oh, it could be like a Hispanic swear word.
Exactly. Can our moderators just have a little check, just clear that it's all right for us to say this before we have a go? Although I thought we kind of had the follow-up with this, and they're having the match next week.
Out. I'll get into my thoughts on that a little bit. Yeah, I agree. We shouldn't read this out without knowing what it means. Remember when Hulk Hogan went through that phase of retweeting Harold Shipman photos because people would be like, can you do my uncle's really ill? It'd be great if you could tweet him out.
My favorite Hogan tweet is not obviously, much love HH is an all-timer. It's the one where he thought the Bam Margera had died, and he tweeted a photo of him being like, I'm so sorry to hear that my good friend Bam Margera has passed away, and Bam messaged him being like, I'm alive, but nice to hear from you.
Just text the guy first. It is. The word is safe.
Okay, the word is safe. Thank you, moderators.
Shall I have a go first?
You have a go, sure. You have a go first.
Parangaracutimikaqualo.
Parangiracutimiraquaro.
You put a bit more accent on it, which makes it sound
like I was
more
right.
legit, yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, for now, bottom class.
That was my favourite at the school.
Says, best return in all of wrestling, the return of the moustache break. Anyways, was anyone else waiting for the Bucks to open their coats and offer a great deal on Rolexes that fell off the back of a truck?
What are you buying?
This will be a hell of a match for Sting's retirement. Agreed.
Yeah.
Before we get into our play-by-play review, I'd say a big thank you to Geology.
It's a new year, which also means it's Ollie's favourite phrase of when you get into January. It's a new you. This is how you're going to look better about yourself. I have quite a few body issues and image issues. One of the reasons why I've been in therapy for the past few years. But I really have enjoyed using Geology. They came to us as a sponsor, and I did need a good skincare routine because I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. I'm really bad at it.
It's confusing.
It is confusing. There's too many products, and they've all got words I don't understand.
Niacinamide.
The Blue's Clue. Was she in NXT? But Geology, what you do is you take a little quiz, and it asks you, what do you want to get out of your skincare routines? You answer those questions, and then it says, well, cool. This is what you need then, and this is the set that I have. This is the set that I use. This is the set that I have been using for the past sort of 3 or so years now since we started having Geology as a sponsor. It's a fabulous service, and you can get 70% off your trial set. So just click the link in the video description down below, take the quiz, you get your trial set offered to you, you can get 70% off that. You can also get an additional 30% off other products that you add on. 70% off your trial set with the promo code WRESTLE70. Click the link in the video description down below, or click this one that is above my noggin right now, this little QR code.
I was traveling around at the Christmas time, see various family members, and I didn't keep up with my skincare, my Geology regime. And yeah, I got a skin flakes here, just like all down here. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot what it was like to not have a lovely smooth face and hydrated face.
God, what it was like to have bad skin for it.
Yeah. So yeah, Geology. Really, it's a really good idea. Right, the play-by-play review. This episode was in Daly's place. It was AEW Dynamite Homecoming. I love it when they do not themed episodes because they went to that well too often last year, but I love it when they change up the look of the show.
Yeah.
And Daly's place has got such a unique look. The stage is in the wrong place. It feels a bit like an indie show at the Clapham Grand when you got people sitting on the stage.
Yeah, that is a weird bit to
It
sit,
is
isn't
weird.
Yeah, 'cause that's where the entrance is.
Yeah. And then, it felt like a more innocent time in the pandemic. And I mean that, I'm very fond of the pandemic era of wrestling and how everyone had to try and figure out how to present a wrestling product.
And this was a quite a nostalgic show for AEW in that sense. Obviously, it's the homecoming. Jacksonville was their home for so much of the pandemic. They kept saying, like, this is our base during the pandemic. This is our base of operations. And, you know, they did a lot of shows from there. We saw a lot of people debut in that era. Ricky Starks on this show. They almost like anytime someone came out, it was like, they made their debut in Daly's place. This is Swerve Strickland's first time in Daly's place. They were almost treating it like WWF did with Madison Square Garden. Like, this is their hallowed grounds. No one else can do wrestling shows here. This is only AEW do wrestling shows here. And they obviously had a lot of stuff for Brody Lee as well, who had his first and last match in AEW in Daly's place. And we had 2, effectively, Brody tribute matches on this card, as well as a really lovely video package.
The opening match, though, was Hangman Page versus Claudio Castagnoli. Hot damn, this was good.
This was great.
Hangman comes out, and he is just, like, unhinged. He's got the beard and tash, and he looks... It's not just that he looks slightly different. I feel like he's carrying himself totally different. And as a character journey... What he went through with Swerve has turned him into a bit of a monster in a good way.
Yeah, it's why he couldn't be in the C2 in a way, because you needed to keep this guy away from wrestling on TV on a weekly basis. I think he's quite purposefully growing out his mustache thicker than the rest of his beard, which, with the Young Bucks coming out with tashes later on, maybe they got like a little elite tash pack.
Well, hopefully if Kenny gets better quickly. He had the cool handlebar as well.
He did, yeah. Oh. So he just looks cool at the moment. A lot of people saying he sounds a lot like Magnum TA. Like he really is. Like the transformation's almost complete.
But it's not just how his face looks, which is gorgeous. It's this extra level of intensity in the ring. And he's always been he's always been very intense in the ring, but then he might be like sort of depressed Hangman outside it. But now he's only angry. He's always angry.
Yeah.
That's his secret. And he had this match with Claudio, and Claudio was like, yeah, I'm angry as well a lot of the time.
And Claudio loves to fight.
Yeah.
Like he's taken Finley's old gimmick, was like the whole thing of the Blackpool Combat Club is they like to have wrestling matches. They like to have fights. It's training for them. So he went out there and he was more than game to have an absolute war with Hangman. They went like nearly 20 minutes with this match as well.
This was pay-per-view caliber, I would say.
They kicked the crap out of each other. It was fantastic.
First time ever as well. I love it when that happens.
Yeah.
And yeah, you had Claudio hit the swing. Hangman did his moonsault spot off the stage. There was a buckshot attempt that Claudio just answered with this wicked uppercut.
Yeah.
And Page is swigging a fan's beer in the crowd, but not in a jokey ha-ha way like he used to do in Daly's place, but in a way.
He's looking for a fight.
Yeah.
He avoided a middle rope Ricola bomb from Claudio by turning that into a top rope Hurricane Rana. It was like just really, really good action.
And not a beat was missed.
No.
Like there was not a slight hesitation on anything. There was no miscommunication. This was like wrestling.
Yeah, this was so good. In the end, Hangman hit a buckshot, didn't quite get Claudio all the way down, so immediately, and because he'd learned this throughout the match that he needs to hit Claudio with a lot to keep him down, so he hits a buckshot, immediately goes to the other side, hits another one for the win. Fantastic finish.
And already as soon as he won, I'm like, well, that is momentum for the World Championship picture.
Yeah.
Which he kind of entered in the cliffhanger for last week. We got a montage of clips from Brody Lee's time at Daly's place, which Luke already covered. And we got the first of 2 tribute matches, really, highlighting and showcasing Brody Lee's hand-picked proteges. And this one, it was Preston Vance, who teamed with Orange Cassidy, Dustin Rhodes, and Adam Copeland to beat Brian Cage, Lance Archer, and the Gates of Agony. But Lance Archer and Brian Cage had a falling out, so that sort of combusted that alliance there, and Vance was allowed to get the win.
Big house show energy.
Oh yeah,
for this one. Like, you went about 10 minutes. Everyone got in. Everyone did their moves. They were highlighting on commentary as well that Preston Vance has been a bit of a baddie, but here he is on the good guys team alongside Orange Cassidy, and who the Brody Lee tribute match was him tagging with Orange Cassidy, and here he is with other fan favorites like Dustin and Adam Copeland. And they were saying on commentary, it was like, it almost feels like Tony Khan is trying to get Preston Vance to see the light. They said the same thing about Anna Jay later on, because although she's been a heel, she was teaming with the good guys. And it was like, look, I know you are a baddie right now, but Brody, Brody handpicked you to be like the next big thing. So like, just team with these guys and sort of see how you feel afterwards.
It was weird not to. I get why, because they're sort of heels and they've sort of broken up and variously been released and gone to Ring of Honor. But the actual Dark Order would have been a better showcase spot somewhere. If you're going to do a Brody Lee show, it felt a bit weird to use Preston Vance and Anna Jay, who are probably the only two people who aren't in the Dark Order, who were in the Dark Order.
Yeah, I just don't think they're doing anything with the Dark Order these days. They've only had a series of video packages for a couple of weeks.
Oh, I didn't see that. Bless you.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure they did it on Dynamite. They were doing like these sort of like wacky commercials to join the Dark Order.
Oh, I didn't see that.
No?
Unless it was the 2 weeks I missed over. No, the 1 week I missed over Christmas.
Was it only on Collision? Did I imagine it? Like, I know they're doing Being the Dark Order now on YouTube because Being the Elite's ended, but yeah, they're not really doing much on TV.
We got a Jake the Snake manager spot as well, which was nice to see. Lance Archer and Jake the Snake, Daly's place. I was like, yeah.
Again, that's what I mean about
very Daly's place.
About trying to feel like a Daly's place homecoming of sorts. You know, Brian Cage made his debut in AEW at Daly's place. Lance Archer and Jake Roberts sort of formed their partnership around, you know, I think they were there, but they kind of did a lot of their partnership during that time in Daly's place. I mean, the only sort of, I would say, negative you could put on this match is that they did miss the finish because they were like watching what Dustin was doing on the outside, which means you missed Preston Vance doing the Brody Lee rolling elbow for the win. But it was good stuff. I thought this was good.
Bullet Club Gold are backstage. They're talking to Renee, and they're interrupted by the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. And they're pitching that, hey, we had something the other week when we came out, last week actually, when we came out to confront the Undisputed Kingdom. Let's turn it into the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. And Jay White's like, no, that's stupid. But Austin Gunn seems tempted by this alliance.
Yeah, we saw this on Collision where he's like, do you know what? It's actually not a bad idea. And you know, you've got the connection there with the dads being part of the Acclaimed. My favorite part of this, though, was actually before the Acclaimed showed up. And it's Renee trying to speak to Jay White about the Undisputed Kingdom. And Colton's like, no, Renee, they're called the United Kingdom. And Colton goes like, yeah, it's where Jay White's from. And Renee goes to Jay White and he's like, just go with it.
Yeah.
Which tells you in that one line, it's like he deals with this so much.
I think this is good. I'm enjoying it. Jay White was on a rise, and then I feel like this is definitely back into lower mid.
This is the problem, and I know you and Pete talked about this last week on the show. The problem you've currently got with the Undisputed Kingdom is that the big match in there is Cole versus MJF, but neither of them are going to be wrestling for a little while, which just means that it's the Goon Squad versus everyone else, I guess.
Yeah, we're probably building some multi-man of them versus Gang Bang Gang with... Yeah. I mean, it's probably Austin, Daddy Ass, and the Acclaimed as a 4-on-4 thing. But yeah, like, why not just build a cool singles feud between Jay White and Wardlow?
Yeah.
Samoa Joe then came out, speaking of the top of the card. This was his first appearance as AEW World Champion. Got a big reaction from the crowd. The crowd are going to cheer him. I think he's probably presenting himself as a heel. It's not going to happen, mate.
Nope. He's too cool. That's the problem. This has always been the issue with Samoa Joe. Remember when Vince Russo had a real hard-on for trying to turn Joe heel in TNA? And it was like, no, people just want to cheer Samoa Joe because he's cool.
You know, I was thinking about this last week. I was like, how would I book Samoa Joe as world champion? Because I was a little bit, not disappointed, but I felt like last week's episode should have had him physically there. As the big kickoff to the new year.
I agree.
And I'm like, you know what? You've just had a year where MJF is quite sparingly used in in-ring matches. What did I love about Joe back in the day? I just wanted to see him wrestle and like do his spots and do his 3 to 5 minute cool match. And I got annoyed if people got offense in. That's how cool Joe is.
Yeah.
I don't want an actual match. I just want to see him do the hits. Like, well, why can't you do that now? Why couldn't Joe just every week or every other week just absolutely squash legitimate people? And then you start to condition this audience to, I'm just waiting for the walkaway spot. I'm just waiting for the Uranagi out the corner. I'm just waiting for the Samoan submission transitions to tap someone out.
Yeah, well, this was the thing I was putting over with the Hook match, you know, because they announced this effectively on Collision where Hook called him out. And I compared it to a match that you and I are very fond of. Hangman versus Dante Martin when Hangman was world champion. and they just had a really, really good match. And it was like, Dante was never going to win the world title, but it was exactly what you should be doing with Hangman Page as world champion. He just goes out there and has an awesome match. And I think you can do the same thing with Joe on top of just squashing dudes. Because if his whole deal is, you've just got to take your record to the championship committee, and if they think you are deserving of a title shot, you get a title shot, because I'm Samoa Joe and I'm going to kill you anyway. And that's kind of what I'm really into this hook, the idea of a hook match. But I also really like your idea as well of just, beating dudes.
Yeah. See, in my version, I'd do the hook thing in about 6 weeks. After 6 weeks of Joe squashing people very easily, and they're actually pretty credible. So when you get to Hook, and Hook doesn't, or like stands right back up after the Uranagi, it's like, oh, what?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, like, they don't even have to be title matches, because if your gimmick is you've got to have a good record,
you've got to beat me to beat me.
Yeah, you could just do squash matches. You could just have matches with Commander and Brian Keith and these lads that you just like, or Serpentico, and just like you just beat them really, really quickly, and then it's just, it's another win for Samoa Joe, another dominant win for Samoa Joe.
Just in case my idea's been misunderstood, I would go for upper mid carders to main eventers, like legit credible people.
You want to so you want to be like so an example might be,
give me the roster.
Okay,
Claudio.
You want him to squash Claudio Castagnoli?
Why not?
I mean, why not? I suppose, but
in a few minutes, like they need to be people who are credible. Otherwise, the idea doesn't work. You might as well do what you're doing now.
Let's have a look. There you go. There's your list.
Oh, Action Andretti. There you go, first. Who is someone who's... So not Brian Cage, for instance, although Brian Cage would be a filler person in week 3. Not Malachi Black, Chris Jericho. You could just squat. That actually would be great.
Well, I mean, it did so much wonders for Powerhouse Hobbs.
Yeah. There's a lot of people on this. Darby Allin. I know he's in the thing with Sting right now, but that would be a credible win. Obviously not Hangman, because you build to that. Obviously not Jay Lethal. Maybe Jay White. It's difficult. Don't make me flesh out my ideas on air.
Well, I mean, no, what I wanted you to do was just to highlight that you're looking to just squash upper mid carders.
Yes. So yeah,
sorry, horrible idea. Right?
You touched on it there. The whole idea now is that there is a championship committee that will decide whether you can face Samoa Joe.
Yeah, you don't get title shots around here by complaining on this microphone or with your hoe-ass tweets.
Mm-hmm.
Take that, Jinder. You just get title shots by having credible wins and losses.
So, yeah, well, I don't know if we'll know who the championship committee is. I like...
It's TNA management.
The confer. I like the idea of Joe just being the championship committee.
Knocking on the door to me. I'm here to meet the championship committee, and it's Joe.
And I'm here talking to him. So this brings out Swerve Strickland. He's with the Mogul Embassy. Awesome.
So cool.
And then Hangman Page comes out and interrupts Swerve, putting forward his case. Swerve just walks off. In a cool way, but I detected a hint of fear in there of Hangman.
It's almost like, well, yeah, because Hangman was like right in his face, and Nana was the one to sort of pull him aside. And actually, you can hear Joe off mic being like, Nana, you want to take your guy away. Like, you want to sort your boy out. And yeah, like Nana was convinced to Swerve, yeah, I don't think this is the time. I think we actually might want to move away from this man.
Which is very cool.
I loved Swerve in this segment. He was so awesome. He just walks out being like, hey, you know what? Might have heard of the thing I did with Hangman last year. Thing is that wasn't personal. I was just looking for a shot. But he wanted to make it personal, so I really, really made it personal with him. And the same thing happens here with you. I just want the world title. And that's not a personal thing. But if you want to make it a personal thing, I'm very happy to do that.
It's so cool and collected, and such a contrast to Hangman's unhinged energy.
Because Hangman comes out and he's just like, it's like 2023 was actually a pretty good year for me. I beat Moxley in a Texas Death Match. I reunited with the Elite. I did Blood and Guts. I did Anarchy in the Arena, but I did not win the world title. Therefore, that year sucked, and 2024 is going to be a much bigger year for me.
So I guess Joe will get back to them. I don't know how this submission process works.
I've just been, is he put the paper in the Kikita clutch? Is that how the submission? But I really enjoyed Joe just standing in the corner, just smirking away at all of this, because this is what Joe wants. He wants spirited competition coming after him for something, and he's just being like, "Look at these guys."
So then Hangman also walks off. I think we're going towards Revolution 3-way, like that chat said. But then the hook signal hit.
It literally had like a bat signal in the sky. Even though his music was already playing, so we knew he was coming out.
Yeah, and Hook is all over the Tron and stuff. And
Joe's
Joe's looking at the word Hook, and it's only when he looks up and he sees the word Hook again that he seems to show realization.
I think this Hook man might be coming out to face me here.
Hook comes out, stares at him, and then
he just says, 1 week. That's all he had to say. But it was coming out. It's already been decided by the championship committee. 1 week. Facing you in 1 week. And you've got 1 week left with that title belt.
And that was done off mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. It was coolly done, but then Excalibur says it. Oh, next week we'll have this match. It's been made official. You're missing out on the pop. I would have had Hook maybe just grab the mic and just say exactly the same thing. You get the crowd pop. Because I don't think they heard it.
Yeah.
And they were a hot crowd.
Yeah,
they
he was,
just,
just putting a 1 up in the air, which is not enough to convey what you're trying to say.
The Usos. Toni Storm was talking backstage. She hasn't seen Mariah May's debut match yet. And
she got sent a screener of it.
Very funny. Not funny where I would laugh, but it's witty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just call that Wendy Richter again.
And she'll be scouting this Diona Palazzo, is that what she called her? Yeah. Ricky Starks took on Sammy Guevara next. This is ahead of their tag title match at Battle of the Belts this Saturday. Not the smoothest match, but I was sort of getting into it, mostly in the commercial break.
I really enjoyed the Angel's wings on the apron to go into the commercial break.
Yeah, that was the best spot.
It was.
And then out of nowhere, but it was 10 minutes in, I guess, Sammy Guevara hits a super kick, Starks bounces off the ropes, falls over, and Guevara not rolls up, but it gets a kind of cradle
technical
thing.
pin, I guess. Yeah.
And that's it. Quite a shocking ending. Don't know if it fully worked.
I don't think so either. This was really here to be, hey, Daily's Place. This guy debuted in AEW Daily's Place, and look where he is now. He's a tag team champion. Sammy Guevara met his wife at Daily's Place.
Oh, yeah.
Not that one. He met his new current wife at Daily's Place. And, now they're going to have a little match together.
I guess what they could have been doing is putting over the idea that Starks has a weak chin. He got knocked out by that super kick. So 1, 2, 3, that's how they could lose the belts on Saturday.
His finish is all chin-based, I guess.
And Ricky goes to shake Sammy's hand afterwards. Sammy, because he's a babyface now, means his IQ drops about 50 points. Oh, yeah, we'll shake your hand, Ricky.
Oh, no, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's Daily's Place. And, that's honor this occasion.
I mean, yeah, he's a thicko. He's a babyface now.
Big Bill obviously attacked him from behind, but in a stroke of production genius, AEW had Chris Jericho come out, make the save, while playing Judas by Fozzy at the loudest possible volume and not stopping it.
Yeah.
So you couldn't hear the boos. I mean, I don't think people were booing either.
No.
I think people were singing along because it's hard not to sing along.
It's a party atmosphere.
And yeah, it sort of gave the angle of what this is a Wild Thing, Anarchy in the Arena vibe. And they fought. It was actually a pretty hot brawl. It was exciting.
Yeah.
And a good go-home angle for that match.
Because I think they're having a street fight or a Falls Count Anywhere match or something like that.
But yeah, of course, Chris Jericho isn't everyone's favorite at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
The next match was the second Brody Lee tribute match. You had Anna Jay was the sort of Brody Lee protege. She was tagging with Thunder Rosa, Willow Nightingale, and Chris Statlander. Stokely Hathaway was quite funny here, holding up a sign in the crowd.
Yeah,
let me be your manager.
Yeah,
Chris.
it was a sign that was like, Chris Statlander should be managed by Stokely Hathaway. And so Chris pulls it down and Stokely's holding it.
Yeah. It's funny. It's got the same thing as Toni Storm, though, where I'm just not finding this stuff funny.
Yeah.
And it's being done a lot. But I can see that it's funny. So all the power to people who get a kick out of it, but I'm not getting much from it. They took on the heels of Saraya, Ruby Soho, Julia Hart, and Sky Blue. Julia Hart and Sky Blue are awesome. What's her name? Was at ringside? Harley Cameron.
Did you see the thing that they did a few weeks back in the Dynamite just after Christmas?
Yeah, I've got a knife.
Yeah, she's well into knives. I think the joke was, because me and Pete had a good old giggle about this, I believe the joke is that Saraya is planning to stab Ruby in the back, and Harley Cameron took that literally, so brought a knife with her.
Yeah. It's really confusing. I don't know what they're trying to do with this.
Debut Saraya's brother, I guess. It's all going to lead to that, maybe.
So Willow Nightingale was worked over during the break. Match breaks down. 8-woman suplex spot. And Anna Jay faces off against Hart. But Hart sort of is pushed out the ring. Anna Jay taps out Sky Blue to win.
Yeah. They announced later in the show that it's Battle of the Belts. Julia Hart defending the TBS title against Anna Jay.
Got a video package of Wheeler Yuta challenging Eddie Kingston for Rampage. Was that for the Triple Crown belt? Or was it for the ROH belt? Or was it for the New Japan Strong belt?
The Continental belt.
Or was it for the Pure... Right, okay. A lot of belts on that guy.
Yeah, and me and Dan talked about this on the Collision podcast, but the modern day Triple Crown champion sort of falls apart a little bit when you are challenging for individual belts.
Yeah, this was not what I was promised, I feel.
No. It's not what I would have done.
I'm just going to pretend there was nothing attached to the C2. Just bragging rights. And that's more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Roderick Strong then took on Bryan Keith. I really like Bryan Keith. He's been around a lot on TV recently.
Yeah.
Strong had as good a match as you can have in 4 minutes. Bit back and forth. Strong got the dominant win. And then Adam Cole, the whole Undisputed Kingdom was out there. They cut a promo afterwards. Cole said, this place is going to change. Talked up every member of the faction, how he respects them all. And yeah, that's it. More of the same as last week.
That was my thing with it. It was borderline the same promo we had last week. And it doesn't have the same impact when Bullet Club Gold are not trying to run out and run them off, or the Acclaimed aren't coming out after them. And I'm like, well, where were you during the bit when all the world champion people were going after? Like, why wasn't Wardlow out there to be like, hey, this guy's going to be coming after your world title? We had a deal, Joe.
Yeah.
Like, where's all that stuff?
Yeah. I don't think this is an optimal follow-up from last week.
I agree.
And even the rest of the show last week wasn't an optimal follow-up on that opening segment. Pete was pushing hard for Strong to just take out Cassidy after his match against Dante Martin. And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. You should have done that to have a championship match on this show and then just put the belt on Strong, I think.
These lads don't feel like the Putty Patrol that were throwing people through windows. You know what I mean?
In a good or bad way?
In a bad way. They just feel like...
They don't feel...
the
Putty Patrol.
No, in the sense of, they threw people into cars. They were throwing people through plate glass windows. Now they just feel like a bunch of lads.
Well, people are a lot bolder behind an anonymous account, aren't they? So yeah, I would have had them way more on the show and to have done something impactful already. Obviously, they turned on MJF, but I'm worried that they're not going to pull the ultimate rocket trigger.
Or they're just going to feel like the Firm 2.0. I mean, last week, that was my thought when I saw the promo last week. That's one of the few things I did see last week was the promo segment. And I was like, this almost is exactly what they did with the Firm, which was Stokely said, here are all of the titles that these people are going to be going for.
But I thought, I must say, I thought that segment was terrific. It was the stuff afterwards that I was like, oh, they just said they're going to change AEW and then they go home. I mean, also, did you say this already? That they could have come out in the Joe segment.
Yeah.
Also, Roddy having to pick up wins or momentum doesn't matter for Orange Cassidy because he's given anyone a title shot.
No, but I think you want to show someone getting wins on TV and looking impressive in those wins so that when they do the title shot, you believe that Roddy could win the belt. I
would argue for an instant boom. Roddy's serious now. Whole new repackaging in this faction, wins the title immediately. I don't think you need to build him up. Purrazzo said backstage she's going to make her debut on Collision and turn down a match with Red Velvet.
No, she's having a match with Red Velvet.
I thought she walked off and said no.
No, they announced later on that it's her versus Red Velvet.
But she said no here.
No, what she said was, because Red Velvet walked in.
She's staring.
Well, yeah, I found this to be relatively confusing as a segment because Deonna Purrazzo said, "I'm having my debut match on," and I think she actually already had a match in AEW, but I'm having, I'm having my match, or is that just All In?
Maybe as an AEW talent, I'm having my debut match.
Anyway, I'm having my Collision debut, and Red Velvet walks in and says, "It's funny because I'm also having my Collision debut this coming weekend." I was like, against Purrazzo or in a different match?
Surely the match has been booked.
That's what I thought. Like they tell them individually, "You've got your debut match, but I won't tell you who against." And then bump into each other. I was like, "I'm having my debut match this week." But me too.
Yeah. And then we got the main event. Overall, I thought this was, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid show. Great wrestling, particularly with the opener and closer.
Yeah.
A few bits I would have changed, but overall, I had a really good time. 80%, 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5 show for me as well. I enjoyed it.
Let's say a big thank you to our wonderful Pledgehammers on Patreon before we get into the remaining Omega chats. You want to go over there because we've got a Survival Series Thunderdome edition going exclusively on there tomorrow.
If you really enjoyed the first episode, you're going to love this episode as well. It's, from the people who have seen it thus far, I think it's a pretty controversial episode. I won't say anything more than that, but there are some moments in there. Adam Whitney, the editor, even edited in a clip from the In-Betweeners where it goes, "I don't know, mate, that's a bit dodgy," in terms of how far people are getting through and whatever assistance they might be getting along the way.
Oh.
I'm just going to say that now.
Oh, my word.
But it's really, really fun. It's a very, very funny episode. Stephen Larson returns. SP3 returns to defend his belt. Ace Trainer Liam and Dan Layton will become the first person to have been in both the normal and Thunderdome versions of Survival Series. Excellent. So it's really fun. That's going live tomorrow.
And a big thank you to our wonderful $25 a month or more Pledgehammers on Patreon. The heir to the throne, Kate Ayers.
Too lot to handle, Lottie McClough.
Manipulating Manny Amaria.
The needs of the Manny Cornish outweigh the needs of the few.
Have a glass of sherry, Martel J. Simmons.
The real boss, Matt Robinson.
Max Kurt Wallander Wallen.
Michael, Mark for Life Plowman.
The Batsman, Nathan Baddy.
The intriguing infrared near Alfredo Wheel.
Leader of the Brass, NJ Hornsberg.
Parking Lot Brawl Champion, Parker King. That is your Hall of Fame class for the 11th of January, 2024. Big thank you to today's sponsor, Geology. Link for that is in the video description down below. And hey, if you're in the mood to click links, why not get your tickets for our Royal Rumble Watch Party, which we'll be doing on the 27th of January. Tickets are now on sale to everyone. We had a great rush of pre-sale tickets from those who came to our Survivor Series party, and now the rest of you can get your tickets to what is going to be such a fun event. I cannot wait to do a Royal Rumble in a room with over 100 people.
It's going to be so much fun.
I made the point on the Collision review. Someone did correct me quite correctly. 56 times we'll all be able to count down from 10 and go, and I guarantee you by number 56, it still won't be boring.
I don't care about the counting. There's only one pop I'm interested in. CM Punk is your men's Royal Rumble winner.
He's
2023.
Also ruining Cody Rhodes finishing his story.
Oh, who isn't? Get in line. Yes, please join us there. It'll be a lot of fun. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Right. Remaining Omega chats.
Live Survival Series as well.
Kid Cuddy says, so does the T in Tony Khan stand for toxic, tantrum, or troll? Luke, you were right that both sides probably won't convert the other side, but the more he does stuff like this, you can turn your loyal side against you. Anyway, this was an okay Dynamite, but just okay. 3 out of 5.
I disagree, because I think that if you've got your flag planted firmly in the AEW ground, you will look past it, even if you don't think it's a good move. And I don't think it's a good move. I don't think his tweets actively help the promotion. That's what I was saying in the news yesterday. I don't think it's actively helping promoting his product, which is why he's doing it. But if you've got your flag, so if you've got your AEW scarf tied so tightly around your neck that you're cutting off circulation to your brain, you're not going to be changed by that. no matter what he does, you're not going to be changed by it. That's how tribalism works.
We've lived through it. We were TNA diehards in the late noughties, and every time one of the officials would say something bad against WWE, we'd be like, yeah! Even though TNA was actually crumbling in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
Vince by Stardom says, I don't think the Young Bucks will be in Sting's last match. I believe they are just there to fill the gap, as Sting's last match is on March 3rd. I have a strong feeling that Sting will choose Darby as his final match, not as an adversary, but as dad to son.
This has got strong. It's not going to be Baron Corbin, guys. It's going to be AJ Styles. We're just going to do the Baron Corbin thing first.
It's going to be John Cena.
It's going to be John Cena. We've just got to get through It's a ruse, everyone. You're being worked.
Oh, that hurts that you brought that up. This is way better than Baron Corbin and Kurt Angle as a retirement match. A little correction. Deonna lost the ROH Women's title on AEW Dynamite in 2022. Which was a bad idea.
Yeah, you hated that match, didn't you?
Yeah, well, it made no sense. Why would anyone get interested in it in the audience?
Well, the women were main eventing, Ollie. That's the picture you
Yeah, but you can't just
Ollie.
put them in there without any storyline build.
What do you want them to do, Ollie? Give them stories? There isn't enough time on TV for that. We gave them the main event. What more do you want?
James Zimmerman says, gosh, I love wrestling. We can get in the weeds about 80, 85, 83%, but at the end of the day, wrestling is so much better than it was back in 2010. Take a second and appreciate this new wrestling boom. Wrestling is amazing again, and I can't stop smiling.
Absolutely.
Peace emoji. Blake Whitehouse, Joe just won the titles less than 2 weeks ago. Even if Swerve was his first challenger, people would either be upset that Joe would either be a transitional champ or that Swerve lost. Also, Toni is just mad. Jinder has a top 15 greatest of all time theme.
The Jinder rehabilitation train is in full effect. I talked to you about this the other day, but we have now got to the point, because it's been 7 years since he was WWE champion, that people are now nostalgic for Jinder Mahal as WWE champion.
I think Jinder's also a bit of friendly fire here, because by all accounts, lovely bloke, and Toni just took a shot at him, and technically took a shot at his kayfabe character. But I think a lot of people are like, what? Hang about.
Well, he was taking his shot at WWE.
Yes. Yeah.
But by extension, you're taking a shot at Jinder, which is why
it's friendly fire.
Yeah, which is why Corey goes like, Jinder rules. And everyone's like, yeah, Jinder's just a really nice dude. I actually think that Jinder's managed this and handled this really, really well. His tweet was genuinely really funny. It's a shame that the WWE PR machine clearly told him to delete it, because I thought it was very, very funny.
What was
he just tweeted, who TF is Hook?
Oh, yeah, no, I did see that.
I thought it was great. And then he was on the bump, promoting the fact that he's going to be getting this world title match. And he was like, look, it's been a great 2024 for Jinder Mahal. I was having a great time on Raw until The Rock ruined everything for everyone. And now I told Seth Rollins exactly what I think of him. I was trending all day on Twitter. Yeah. And he had a really good chuckle about it. He's like, it's about time people have recognized that I make changes around here.
On the other part, Blake, I think if you do a triple threat with Paige involved and Paige takes the pin, that's how you get through that choppy section. Patrick Eddy, sorry, I just have to say this before I forget. If Edge, CM Punk, FTR, Randy Orton, Riddle, and Pete Dunne were in a faction, guess what they would be called? Rated CMFTRK Bro Swoozerweights. Oh, I mucked it up. Rated CMFTRK Broserweights. Okay, fine, I'll leave now. No need to use force. Jam that jam.
That's
very good.
I actually enjoyed that.
Kevin, just bought my tickets for the watch party and for my first ever wrestling show, Progress, Chapter 162, the day after. I'm going to be real knackered at the end of the weekend, but I cannot wait. Also, Ali's first match post-WWE is available on YouTube for free.
I think Ali's on that Progress show as well.
Yeah, he is. Whips. Well, we'll see you there. Be more like Kevin, everybody. Buy your tickets.
Yeah, and they are selling fast as well. We're keeping an eye on it.
Whipster180 says, agreed. If the Continental title can be separated, it would be stupid. But imagine a world where the Continental title unifies with the Intercontinental title, some kind of Intercontinental title or something.
Yeah, it fuses with the International Champion.
Sorry, I mucked up your joke. That's very good, Whipster.
It's a very good joke.
Just Donny, 27-month member. Whee! And this is Brett J. Rasmussen from the Raw review, so I'll let you...
So we were talking about Star Wars on the things. We were talking about this sort of like people are now nostalgic for Jinder, and I was like, yeah, because it's been 7 years. If you were 11, you're now 18, which means someone you hated as a WWE champion as a child, you are now an adult and are like looking back with your nostalgic eyes on something that was objectively rubbish. And I said, I've been through this. People keep trying to tell me that Attack of the Clones is a good movie when we all decided in 2002 it's not a good movie. And if you were 8, you're now actually 28, almost, basically. And someone in the chat was like, Luke is wrong. Attack of the Clones is the Empire Strikes Back of the prequel trilogy.
I mean, narratively...
It is the second one.
It is...
And, you know, people left the theater after Empire Strikes Back being like, what are these characters going to do next? What does this mean for the franchise? And everyone came out Attack the Clones being like, what does this mean for the franchise? What a state it's found itself in. But anyway, Brett here says, I need to hear your opinion on the chat about Episode 2 as the prequels version of Empire Strikes Back. No, that is wrong, my good sir. Empire is one of the best movies out there and the best Star Wars movie next to Jedi.
Yeah, so I think Brett's agreeing with you there.
Yeah, very much so. And a few people pointed out to me, it was like, yeah, well, I mean, I thought the prequels are good. They're better than the sequels. I think that's a good argument. Because Rise of Skywalker is one of the worst things I've actually, unfortunately, ever seen.
I like Rise of Skywalker.
And that is a movie made by committee, and it shows on screen. It's so stupid.
There's also a kind of teenage fantasy booking overload to it, which I get a kick out of.
It does feel like fan fiction on screen, which is a fun.
So many ships at the end.
So many Jedi.
Oh my
and then
God.
all of the Jedi show up.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's all we've got time for today. Please go over and buy a ticket to the live event. We're just going to have the final poll results as well.
We are indeed. A 71% thumbs up, which is low for Dynamite. Mid 22%, and the rest are thumbs down.
And also go and support our sponsor, Geology. They're a terrific service, and you'll get a lot of value out of them for your lovely skin. But for now, I've been Ollie Davis. Oh, actually, go over to No Rolls Barred right now. Don't leave us, because in under an hour's time, wrestling is going board games. Because we're going to have something called the Crokinole Rumble. It's a new event that we're trialing in this Royal Rumble month of January, where we're going to have 9 people play and eliminate. We've tried to make a board game into the Royal Rumble.
Crokinole, it was the best choice for this.
And we've come up with something amazing.
So, obviously, Tempest has been off. Tempest is, like, Crokinole is Tempest's game. He loves Crokinole. He was aghast at the rules changes that we've made for the Crokinole Rumble. But he's been assuaged because we tested this out. And it's really fun.
I think we've made it better. But yeah, go over to No Rolls Barred now. The live event there starts in just under an hour. And yeah, it'll be an hour long. It'll be a fun game. The winner goes on to face the Lord of the Board winner, John Gracie, to crown the first ever Board Game Club Championship, or whatever we end up calling that belt later in the year. But for now, I've been Ollie Davis. It's been Luke Owen. Jam that jam.
Jam that jam.